In our previous video, we introduced you to the grid system and responsive design. Now that we understand how the grid works with responsive design, we can introduce it into our Whiskey Drop landing page. In this video, we're going to augment our current very basic mobile design to include a more sophisticated layout on bigger screens. But before we start, let's put together a quick wireframe of what we want our landing page to look like at each breakpoint. Instead of a single column of information, both our quotes and our features will change to a side-by-side layout on both the medium and large resolutions. And notice that the only difference between medium and large is that we're going to hide one of the features on medium resolution and only show two, while on large we'll show all three. Although our layouts are quite basic in this example, it's still a good habit to get into creating wireframes when you're developing, because you'll see that this helps us to spot things that we might otherwise miss. For instance, it would have been very easy to simply break our page into 3 rows, one for the callout, one for the quotes, and one for the features. This would have created an issue though, because our quotes and features header element would have been included in those rows, which would have caused a layout problem. Instead, we're going to break those headers out into their own rows, which will give us 5 in total. This is the kind of oversight that we could have made without wireframes. So let's go back to our Cloud9 workspace and get to work. You'll remember on our landing page that we've already added a container class from a previous lesson, which is a Bootstrap class. Now we can start adding rows. I'm cutting and pasting a lot of code here, and then I'm using Command-Shift-B on the Mac to beautify that code. You can access this by clicking on the Commands menu on the left-hand side, and it will tell you the key sequence to use. On a PC, this is Control-Shift-B, and it's a good habit to get into. I'm then going to break out my quotes header into its own row, as we discussed. So I'll cut the ending div here, paste it in, and then I'm going to put the block quotes themselves in their own row as well. And Command-Shift-B to beautify. We'll do the same for the features. We'll give the features header its own row. And then we'll put all of the features in a row by themselves as well. And we'll beautify. Notice I'm using the Cloud9 shortcuts here as well in order to create my divs. Remember that we are designing for mobile first, so we want to maintain our initial column layout on a mobile device. So to do that, we can use the col12 class. So I'm going to wrap my callout in a col12 class. I'm going to do the same for my quotes header. So inside the row, .col-12. And then I'm going to do the same for each of my individual block quotes. So inside the row, I'm going to put the first block quote in a column 12. And my second block quote in a column 12 as well. We'll beautify that. We'll do the same for the features. So first of all, we'll break out my features heading into its own column. And then we'll put each of the individual features into their own column as well. It's worth actually noting at this point that in Bootstrap 4, a column class must be the direct child of a row class, otherwise it will break our responsive design. So although sometimes it's tempting to create a row and to put a different class inside, note that you will break your layout if you don't put a column class as the direct child of a row. Okay, so now that all of our columns are in place and our code is beautified, let's just refresh our page here. And as we can see, apart from a minor spacing, everything looks exactly the same. Now that that's done, we can layer our medium resolution column layout on top. So we'll go back to our code. Our callout can remain exactly the same. We want that to be full width on all screen sizes. But for each of our individual quotes, we wanted them to occupy half of the row. So let's add in a col MD6 class after our col 12. Once we've done that, we can do the same for our features. Remember that on medium, we wanted just 2 features to be displayed side by side. So again, for our first feature, we can give that a col MD6 class after the col 12. We'll do the same for the second feature. And for the third one, we'll use the D class, which in Bootstrap is display. And then we'll say MD, so on medium screen sizes, and none. So on a medium screen size, our third feature will not be displayed. Let's test that. So I'll refresh my page. And as we can see, my quotes are now side by side, and my features are side by side, and the third one is hidden. If I inspect, and now reduce the screen size, then we can see that on a small screen size, my third feature comes back. Increasing the screen resolution again back up to medium and above, and the third feature vanishes. Okay, now that we have that in place, we only have some minor changes to make for our large screen layout. We're happy to have our quotes display side by side. We don't need to make any changes to our callout. It's just our features that need to have some large screen size classes added. So for our first feature, we can add a col-lg-for. This will keep them side by side, but make them occupy a third of the row. For our third feature, things are slightly different. What we need to do now is add another D class and say that on large screen sizes, we actually want this to be displayed. So we'll put D-lg-block. And then we can provide col-lg-for. If we didn't supply this second D class, then it would still be hidden, because remember that Bootstrap's screen size classes affect all screen resolutions above. Now that we go back to our page and refresh, we can see on a large screen size that we have 3 features side by side. As I reduce the resolution down to medium, then one of the features vanishes. And as I reduce the screen size even further down to small, we can see that we go back to our column layout. So this is great. We now have a fully functioning grid. In our next series of videos, we're going to layer on extra functionality using the Bootstrap component library.